Hollywood, the magic and the reality. A visit with Miss Betty Hutton.
And my mother being alcoholic, anything I could raise extra was terrific, you know. So that's when it all started. But then it was fun. And my whole aim in the beginning was to save my mother's life. And I really thought that if I could become a star, and the word star came to me because my mother took me to see Al Jolson in the first movie where there was a little talking, it was silent and talking. And she said, I looked at the screen and said, I'm going to be a tar. I couldn't even say star. That was my way out. And I knew that I got applause when I sang. And to me, that was love, and it was approval, and I was on my way. So I knew I could get my mother better if I could make enough money to get us out of the ghetto of Michigan. And that's what I started to do. And my sister was alcoholic by the time she was 9. And that all was not any part of my life in the beginning, just get my mother better. So by 13, I had won a contest with Vincent Lopez, and I went with the Lopez Band, and within weeks, I was in New York City. And by 14, I was starring on Broadway.
You were with Vincent Lopez at 13?
At 13. I won an amateur contest.
Oh,
and the prize was to go with the band all over the country. And that's what I did. And I took my mother and my sister with me. And I thought, you know, we're on our way. And I had to kind of hide my mother in the background because, you know, the drunken things that went on were very tough for a little kid to deal with. But I was like, I think I was born 40. I don't really truly remember being a child. And I think that was part of the problem that finally hit me. But anyway, we got to New York and things really rolled. And to make a long story short, I did 2 Broadway shows by the time I was 19. The last one was with Ethel Merman. And then Buddy DeSilva was the producer of that. And he became the head of Paramount Studios. And at the time, I had one big number in Panama Hattie, and Ethel Merman took it out opening night. And I said, oh, and I ran to Buddy DeSilva. I said, I'm not going on. And you know, through my first temper tantrum, he said, Betty, I know this sounds cruel to you, but that number was too hot to handle, you know, and she's protecting herself, and it's in her contract. And, you know, fist fight, he said, Betty, I'm going to become head of Paramount Studios, and if you won't leave the show, I promise to bring you to Paramount. And I swear to God, that's how the deal was made, like that.
Isn't that
so he went out to Paramount, and I was in the show 1 year exactly, and I went out to Hollywood, and the rest, you know, it started to happen. And it was so exciting.
Betty, take a breather. You're terrific. I love you, and I'm so appreciative of your openness and honesty, and I know our viewers are too. 2 things. One, just with reference to the Hollywood era in the days of the 40s, some people might be interested in knowing what was it like just from the perspective of a young girl going there. Was it Tinsel City, unreal, or was it something that really was the glamorous thing that you thought it would be?
Oh, it was everything. It was more than you remember now where I'm coming from. This is the world that I gave my life for. Like you give your life for God. I sold everything. This was it. And it was it. At that time, there were orange groves still. It was gorgeous. It wasn't ugly. I really was, it's funny, once I got to Hollywood, I loved Broadway. I loved the stage. I understood what I was doing. I understood this. That was approval, and that was love. I think just now that was where it went wrong. It was silent out there. You know, I would do a funny thing, and nothing happened. I would sing a song, and nothing happened. See, this was love. That was approval, and I had none of it. And the terror began.
When did it begin to slip away, really beyond control?
I was, I think, 4 or 5 days off of pills, and I saw a man walk in, a priest, and he had the most drunken, horrific woman with him you've ever seen, and only someone who knows alcohol knows the monster that is, because they're not responsible for what's going on. But I looked at this man, I thought, oh, wonderful, a Catholic priest. What, any minute he's going to blow here, scream, you know, because she was ridiculous. I never heard such garbage come out of a woman's mouth, and I thought I had heard it all. And this man just stood there and just kept saying, Pearl, it's okay. It's all, and he kept holding her as I cannot tell you how awful what she was saying, even to my horrendous ears, you know. And the nurse finally, they got behind her to give her a shot, you know. And they calmed her down, and Father left and went out the door, and she came out of that shot and hit to that window and tried to break through the window to get to him. And I thought, this man I've got to meet. And right then and there, I had a feeling that God was saying to me, okay, Betty, it's time. So I waited till she sobered up, and I went to her, and I simply said, Pearl, who is that man? And she began to tell me about Father McGuire, how he reaches in and takes care of people that no one wants to handle. Because when I got there, Father, my children had not spoken to me in 4 years. Nobody wanted, I couldn't get arrested, literally. Nobody wanted me. I couldn't do a show. My reputation was really that bad. But nobody spoke to me anymore. There wasn't one friend left. I had done that. With the pills, I really was sick. There was no one to talk to anymore, and only anger came out. Because I was very angry. And I had nobody to say, look, I'm dying inside, help me. And I had a feeling it would, I'm sorry, that it would be Father. So I talked with Pearl, and she took me to my first Mass in Massachusetts. And we went into the the hugest church I'd ever been in, and there were about 3 people there. It was not a Sunday Mass. And the priest, I had always been terrified because they always had their back to you, you know. And he motioned for us to, I thought, oh, what's the matter? What have we done? I said, Pearl, what's the matter? And she said, I don't know. Because this hadn't happened with her either. So we went up there. We stood by the Blessed Sacrament with the wine, and it wasn't terrifying. That's why God had that happen that way to me. This priest was so lovely, and we just stood right there with the tears flowing down my face. I couldn't receive communion, but I was allowed to stand there and watch it. You know, it wasn't something you can't see. And now I know how alive this religion is. 'Cause I thought it was behind clouds, you know, dark curtains and outfits you couldn't get in. And he didn't know who Betty Hutton was, which is funny. They said to him, you know, that's Betty Hutton. He said, so? You know, that's how really I think I got well. I didn't have to do anything for him. No performing. He'd never seen me in a picture, didn't know what that was all about. And the healing began. It's taken me 10 years to get this far. It wasn't sudden, but it was slow, but it was wonderful. Now, I was telling some of your staff, it's Christian confidence. It's God. I live for him totally every moment of my life, whether I'm playing on Broadway. I did Anna, you know, a couple of years ago. It doesn't matter what form of that it takes now. I take him out there with me. And I say, okay, let's roll, God, because he's with me. And it's terrific, because it's not a God. Jesus, to me, is so personal. You know, when I found out he would listen to me, you know, how can you ever explain to anybody that you're that special? You're not that special to any human, but you are that special to him, and that's what's brought me through all of this.
Betty, during the years that you were coming back, you say it was a long process. Were there ever any false starts or slip backs?
Oh, yes, Father.
And what happened there? You were working in the rectory, were you?
Yes.
Tell us specifically.
Oh, listen, I was scrubbing toilets and scrubbing floor. It was terrific.
We had heard Betty Hutton is working in a rectory in Rhode Island, and that's true.
It was true, Father. And there were 3 priests. See, Pearl got sick. She went back to alcohol. So I had to take it all over. And we had an old priest upstairs who was 95. He was so terrific, and Father Hamilton and Father McGuire. 3 priests, and I had nurses around the clock. I did the cooking, the scrubbing. You know what I did? I tried to do it as good as a performance. I thought I was doing the Song of Bernadette here, you know. Wow.
There are people who are perhaps listening to us, watching the show, who were somewhere where you were a few years ago. Is there anything you'd like to say to give them a word of encouragement?
But the only thing I can say to them, Father, is that if you want to be here where I am with these 2 terrific people, all you got to do is look up, okay? And look in.
Beautiful. Betty Hutton, you've got a lot more love coming at you than you realize. There are many, many people who know what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing for young people.
Thank you, Father. It is my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it coming to do your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean.